Swaminithi Namini. Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we are continuing with the study of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, the chapter 18. So today we will discuss on the verses from 41. So far we have heard the difference between sannyasa and tyaga, the question raised by Arjuna. And then we discussed about how the tyaga in the three modes, and then Krishna summarizes about the karma yoga. Karma yoga was summarized. Then also we discussed about the 5 factors of an action, how the 5 factors, several factors Krishna is discussing. Among the 5 factors, how there are some are impetus for an action, and then the constituents of work, all those things are discussed, and then also the effect of 3 modes. And all these constituents were also discussed. So there was also discussion about the dhriti, the determination, and then the happiness in 3 modes, determination in 3 modes, the intelligence in 3 modes. So after having discussed this, now Krishna takes it further, how by engaging in work one can lead to perfection in life. By engaging in an activity, how that work can bring one to perfection. Again, whatever he spoke before, he's summarizing now. So we will discuss those verses. Okay. Text 41. Brahmana Kshatriya Visham Shudranam cha parantapa karmani pravibhaktani svabhava prabhavair gunaihi. Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras are distinguished by the qualities born of their own natures in accordance with the material modes, O chastiser of the enemy. So Krishna points out here, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Visham. Brahmana, Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas. Shudranam, Shudras. O Parantapa, Cha Parantapa. Krishna says, O subduer of the enemy. Karmani Pravibhaktani. Based on the activities, these divisions exist. Based on whatever activities they are performing, there are 4 divisions that are established, Krishna says. And how certain activities, some of them are inclined with certain activities, that Krishna explains as Swabhava Prabhavair Gunaihi. If each and everyone has their particular Swabhava, so based on that Swabhava, they are being classified as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. So that's what Krishna is pointing out. That there are, basically in this verse, Krishna is saying that there are 4 divisions in the society which are identified based on the Swabhava of the living entities. Okay. So here Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is pointing out that the living body filled with the 3 gunas becomes successful by worshipping the Supreme Lord by prescribed activities according to the person's nature. This is described in 6 verses. The next 6 verses to come, we're going to see how each and every one, based on when he acts in his Swabhava by worshipping the Lord, he'll be acting in his Swabhava, doing certain activities, but he'll also be worshipping the Lord. And by that, one will attain perfection, Krishna is speaking about. And he also says, these activities are duties designated precisely by the gunas of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, which manifest by birth, are described for the Brahmana, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. So here he is also pointing out that Brahmana, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras, each and every one of them, they are all governed by certain modes of nature. For some of the certain modes are predominant. For one class, certain mode is sattva is predominant. For one class, rajoguna is predominant. Sattva becomes a subsidiary. And for another class, the rajoguna becomes predominant. Subsidiary guna will be tamoguna. And then for the fourth class, tamoguna is the predominant guna. So that is the, and subsidiary guna is rajoguna. Okay, that's what is being pointed out here. We'll go to the next verse. Now, Krishna is going to speak about the qualities by which one can identify who is a Brahmana. Now, something very interesting. If you see these four varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Now, Krishna, if you see these verses, 2 verses to come, you will see Krishna is giving qualities of Brahmana and qualities of Kshatriya. Please, you can take a look at the verses, then you will see. But then when it comes to the Vaishyas and Shudras, Krishna is pointing about their activities. But here, specifically, he speaks about the qualities. We will see why it is like that. Shamodamastapah shaucham shantir arjavam evacha jnanam vijnanam astikyam brahma karma svabhavajam. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work. So this is a very important verse to know regarding the qualities of the Brahmana. Not only a person should know it, he should imbibe it, he should live with this quality. If somebody wants to follow the principles of Brahmanical culture. Shamaha, a person is expected to be peaceful. That means he is in sattva guna. He is completely very sober, peaceful. Damaha. So we all also know that why a person, unless he is self-controlled, he cannot be peaceful, isn't it? And each and every senses are pulling us in different direction, and if you want to satisfy each and every sense, then ashantasya kutas sukam. How can you be happy when a person is not peaceful? You cannot be peaceful, so you cannot be happy as well. So damaha, self-control, is a basic fundamental principle in spiritual life. Srila Rupa Goswami's teachings in the Upadeshamrita begins with the most important principle to be followed. It all begins with what? Controlling the speech, controlling the tongue, controlling the belly, controlling the genitals, agitations of the mind, everything has to be controlled. So, self-control, damaha. Then, tapaha. Tapaha means performance of austerities. What is the greatest asset for a Brahmana? He performs austerities. So, you can see even in material endeavors, there are so many austerities we need to undergo. I want to get a visa to go to the US. You can see how much tapasya they are all performing. Still remember, you have to go to get the visa in Chennai consulate. Sometimes they come at 3:30 in the morning to stand in the queue. And nowadays some interview timings are arranged. But even then the interview timings are arranged, the number of candidates are more. So there's a huge queue and you have to stand. There is no special seat, air condition is not provided, you have to stand. Now the point is, even for some mundane thing, austerity is inevitable. So specifically, those who are want to aspire for spiritual practice, austerity is very much required. This is the advice given by Rishabhadev to his sons. Tapo divyam putraka yena sattvam shuddhyed yasmad brahma saukyamtam anantam. So he says that by engaging in austerities, what will happen? A person becomes purified and then he enters into he gets the Brahma Saukyam. He becomes very happy and enters into the transcendental abode of the Lord. He becomes qualified. So austerities is a very important principle. Then Shaucham. One has to be clean. Brahmana means clean. There's no question of, he's one of the Prabhupada disciples. Even till today, he's always very clean. He cuts his nails every time. He once was noticed by Srila Prabhupada and he was advised that Brahmana means you should cut your nails regularly. It's just one aspect of it. You keep yourself clean, your clothes are clean, the place we are staying is clean. Not that you wear some thread for two rupees and then you call yourself to be a Brahmana and use it for scratching your back. We have seen that also. That also is being done. So dirty, nothing is being clean. It's not at all. He's not at all a Brahmana. Brahmana means he's clean externally and internally. And Shantir means tolerance. This is again another quality of a Brahmana. He is ready to tolerate all difficulties. Summer season, winter season, place is not proper, the food is not proper. He is ready to adjust and then understand the nature of this material world, and he tolerates and he goes along in his endeavor to practice spiritual life. Not that he is insensitive, not that he doesn't care for anything, but he is ready to adjust himself. Even difficulties come, he doesn't complain, he doesn't point fingers. He knows the nature of this material world, and he knows sometimes there is happiness, sometimes there is distress, and he's ready to tolerate. Arjavam is honesty. This is a very amazing principle. Nowadays, where are those people where are those Brahmanas who are so straightforward, honest, always speaks the truth? This is one of the important called Arjavam. Always be straightforward in dealings. Speak always the truth, in whatever situation it may be. That is their quality. Jnanam, always well versed with the conclusions of the scriptures. Jnanam and Vijnanam. Not only they are just theoretical, they study the scriptures and then they practice in their life they practice the scriptures. They study and then they practice it. Then one will be, what is the result of it? One is overflowing with realizations. He can advise in a particular situation what should be done, how we should handle the situation, what should be our response. So Jnanam, Vijnanam. And then Astikyam. Astikyam is the religiousness. Religiousness means he is abiding by the instructions of the Lord. Shastra vidim na utstrijya. He never goes against the conclusion of the scriptures. Whatever the scripture says, he follows. So this is Astikyam. And then what he says, these are all the qualities by which he leads his life. Brahma karma swabhavajam. These are the qualities. So these are the qualities one should develop if he is going to practice. These are all the qualities are inherent within the practice of Vaishnavism. A person is devotee, naturally he has all these qualities. Okay. There are some other aspects that we can discuss also. Now we also understand that Brahmana is not just by birth, isn't it? Brahmana is according to the Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures as well, Bhagavatam also. How do we identify someone as a Brahmana? Not because he may be having a good chance being born in a Brahmana family to develop the qualities of Brahmanical culture, but not necessary that he is born to a Brahmana father, he may be a Brahmana, unless he is trained in the samskaras, unless he practices the principles of Brahmanical culture. So that's an important understanding we have in this regard. Krishna says, Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashah. So based on the gunas, based on the qualities and the activities, the varna is determined. But in Kali Yuga, we can hardly see people with such exceptional traits. So that's why Kalau Shudra Shambhavaha, it is being explained. Very hard to find those top quality people. There are some who are still practicing such principles of peacefulness, tapasya, forgiveness, and such regulated study of the scriptures. There are, even now we can see there are some Brahmanas, their breakfast will be maybe around 12 o'clock. They wake up very early in the morning, they do their morning nitya karmas, then they are engaged in the worship of the deities, they are engaged in reciting stotras, they study the scriptures, and then after all the abhishek and then offering, they cook also, they cook and offer to the deities, and then after all these things they will take the prasadam, and their life is life of purity. so much absorbed in chanting, and also always interested to know about the conclusions of the scriptures and like that. So these are all the quality people. Now in Kali Yuga, it's almost gone, In Kali Yuga, people are hardly anybody is, even those who are born in so-called Brahmana family, most of them are working in some software companies or in some factories or doing some other profession, or some of them are sports personalities. Some of them are engaged in various different kinds of work. But Brahma Janati iti Brahmana. He bows down only to Vishnu, not to anyone else. These are all the descriptions in the scriptures. So we cannot deny this. We need to know. So that's why Srila Prabhupada, when he in the Bhagavad, one of the purposes, he says, now there is an emergency situation. We need Brahmanas to guide the society, Prabhupada said. So Prabhupada, he trained the devotees in the following the 4 regulative principles by which one can come to the level of being called a human being. And then from there, by following the strict principles of Krishna consciousness, one is elevated to the Sattva Guna. From Sattva Guna, one is raised to the Shuddha Sattva. So what Srila Prabhupada did was perfect. There was no deficiency in his act. Some of them criticized Srila Prabhupada that how can he make the Westerners into Brahmanas. But we can see for ourselves that by following the pure principles of Krishna consciousness, one is raised to the level of Vaishnava. And then he is able to deliver the entire world by his purity and by his speech, by his action. You can see. So that's the point. Okay. Now, okay. Text 43. Shauryam tejo dhritir dhakshyam yuddhe chapyapalayanam dhanam ishvara bhavascha shatram karma svabhavajam. Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. Here Krishna says Shauryam. Shaurya means heroic. Heroic means he is ready to face any adventurous situation. Very bold. Tejaha, powerful. Powerful. Now we can see when we went to Jaipur, we saw some of the Rajasthani kings, the kind of weapons they were using, the shield they were using. Some were very big, and the swords were. You really need to be a little powerful to lift it even. Finally, even next we can speak of, using it and then, moving it and then very skillfully. You should really be powerful. You should have good strength. So first of all, you need to be powerful, and power alone is not enough. There should be power coming from inside. You should be very bold. And then dhritihi, and such a determination. Whatever may be the situation, whoever is an opponent, very bold to face the situation. And also, a Kshatriya also, he should control his senses and mind. Not that Kshatriya means he's the king of everything, and then there are so many women in the palace, in his courtyard, he can dance and no, his whole life is regulated from morning, the time he wakes up to the time he goes for resting. He has a whole schedule. 6 a.m., 6:15 a.m., 6:45 a.m., 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Whole schedule is there. He has to follow a schedule. He could only be a king. There is a time for attending the people. There is a time for hearing from the ministers. There is a time for he spends with his wives. There is a time for breakfast. There is a time for him to study. There is time for him to do puja. There is time for him to go around and meet the people in the village. Then he hears the problems of the people. So everything is scheduled for him. So not that Kshatriya means he can do anything. No, he's so regulated, his life. And then he has his nature also. So here it is also his being. So the generosity. Generosity means when people are in difficulties, people come and approach him. He gives charity. He addresses the situation. He takes a decision immediately under the guidance of the Brahmanas. He acts accordingly. And then naturally he's a leader. We can see with those people with those traits, they will set example. They will be right in the front. Not that when there is a war, the minister or the prime minister sits in one corner and then he just presses some button or he's asked, he's right there in the front. The Prabhupada said when Prabhupada is in US, he was pointing out that some of them are not at all, they're less than Shudras, First of all, he's very bold, that they are not at all qualified to fight in the war. everyone has to go through the draft. Draft means everyone should go through the military training. But what are the qualifications they are having? So that's to be seen. And then also another quality we can see here. Dhanam. So here generosity also means that that when there is someone who is coming and then taking shelter of him, even the opponent comes and falls at his feet, he gives him shelter. He doesn't kill. You came now, he doesn't kill. No, he gives, okay, you are taking shelter of him and it's my responsibility to give shelter. If you can remember when you studied the first canto of Bhagavatam, what Kali did? Kali completely took shelter of Parikshit. So Parikshit had to give shelter to him. So these are all the qualities of Kshatriyas. And then we can also see here Ishvara Bhava. So that propensity to control, he has got that. Ishvara Bhava. He controls and all those things. So when he is guided by the Brahmanas, he also studies scriptures. He also goes to the training in Gurukula. So he studies scripture and then he also knows the scripture, but always he takes the guidance of the Brahmanas to take any decisions in his life. And then one more quality I missed. Apalayanam, it is said. Apalayanam means that's what, he's very bold, doesn't run away. When there are some very powerful opponents, he's ready to face them and then he's ready to remember that Prabhupada used to always quote in his lectures that when that Rajasthani king, when he went back there was a battle, and in the battle somehow they thought that they have killed the king, but then the battle was over, everything was over, so he went back to his kingdom. And then he's saying that here is the king has come back. So they all got the news that the battle, they were defeated in the battle. So wife said that, no, my husband, either he wins the war or he's dead. You are not my husband. Wife, the queen rejected. That is the class of the Kshatriyas. So we can see here that these are all the qualities by which one can identify the Kshatriyas. Okay. Text 44. Rishi Gorakshya Vanijyam Vaishya Karma Svabhavajam Paricharyatmakam Karma Shudrasyapi Svabhavajam. Farming, cow protection and business are the natural work of the Vaishyas. And for the Shudras, there is labor and service to others. Rishi Gorakshya Vanijyam. So Rishi means plowing. Gorakshya, protecting the cows. And then trade. These are all the activities of the Vaishyas. So I just told, no? You see here immediately when it comes to Vaishyas and Shudras, the activities are mentioned here. I think it's such an important, both the roles, a Brahmana and Kshatriya are such an important role in the society. So specifically the qualities are identified. So there may be other qualities with Vaishyas and Shudras as well, but specifically here the activities are mentioned. So what I understood was for them, these qualities are very, very important. Otherwise, if those qualities were mentioned for Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, if they don't possess, they can't play that role. Okay. And then Paricharyatmakam Karma. So then the Shudras, what they do, they are simple, sincere. They simply follow the other three varnas. Whatever is required for them, they just work for them, and that way they attain perfection actually. So they said, and for the Shudras, there is labor and service to others. What is it? Paricharyatmakam Karma. Okay. So the agriculture part of it, and then the taking care of the cows, and then engaging in trade are the qualities of the Vaishyas. Now, now suddenly a question may be raised. Prabhupada has discussed this before also. I would like to really little bit touch upon this. Now people immediately, when we just speak about this 4 varnas and ashramas, or specifically 4 varnas, what they immediately say? Oh, you see, they are promoting caste system. They are promoting one person is very high, another person is low, and this is why these Vedas have to be condemned. This Manu Samhita has to be burnt. It has spoiled India. Actually, if you properly understand the system, these 4 divisions, inevitably, it cannot be avoided. It is naturally in the society. Even today, even the so-called communists who say that everyone should be equal, you can see there may be a person who will be giving a big lecture on communism and all these things. Even before the program is begun, for the lecture to be arranged, so chairs has to be put in proper shape, the whole place has to be clean, Who is doing that? The leader who is giving the lecture is doing that? No, there will be a simple person who will be a worker, he will be doing it. But he will come and then speak like this. Everyone is equal, everyone should be equal. But why is there this difference in your place? It is natural, you cannot avoid. So the people have certain proclivities. People have certain, certain natures. And when they are engaged according to that nature, then what happens? That person himself also becomes peaceful and is happy also. But now the whole point here is that the whole divisions are made for what purpose? For the purpose of purification of one's existence. Whatever activities is engaged, the prime activity of the person, what is the prime activity of the person? The prime activity of the person is to establish his connection with the Supreme Lord. This should not be forgotten. That is why Krishna has created this system. By nature, because everybody has got a specific nature, and that nature, one has to be engaged according to that nature. We can take another simple example. Now there are 4 kinds of patients coming to the doctor. Okay, 4 persons are having different kinds of disease. Can the doctor give for all the 4 patients the same medicines? No, sir. You please be equal. You cannot be like this. Or you are giving him an injection, and for this person only this one tablet, and for another person you just gave only dietary restrictions. This is not fair. This is not proper. This is insanity, isn't it? Doctor knows exactly what is the disease, and according to the disease, certain prescriptions, certain procedures are followed, isn't it? So if somebody speaks like this, that it is, you are promoting caste system, and then you are partial. Now, there is another aspect to this story. There may be some people who have not understood the whole system properly. They have misused, they have exploited. That is a different scenario. That is a whole different discussion. But the system in itself, there is no problem, there is no issues. Because people out of greed or out of inadequate knowledge, they have exploited. That is a different scenario. But as such in the system, when it is followed properly, that is the perfect path required in the humanity, so that the human society could lead a peaceful life. Isn't it? You can see these divisions are even within our society also. It is not possible that everyone can cook, everyone can give a lecture. Certain people have certain traits, and that has to be kindled. We has to be engaged accordingly. Someone who can speak for hours together, for someone to speak even for a minute, it is very difficult. But he may be very exceptional in certain other quality. Doesn't matter. The good news is that it doesn't matter. Not that everybody should do all the activities. Whatever you may be expert in, do that for Krishna. This is the system that Krishna has given. There is no need to be. We will see in these upcoming verses. That is the entire point Krishna is discussing. Arjuna is raising this question. Shall I just practice some other varna? Shall I, because of deficiencies in other varnas, or because of the lower gunas predominant in other varnas, shall I change my varna? Krishna says, don't do it. Just whatever may be your situation, you just be in your situation and you try to purify. That is the best course of action, he says. We will discuss more on that. So this point that we are trying to discuss here is that caste system, this is not some mundane caste system. This is a divisions based on the gunas one has developed. Accordingly, Krishna is trying to engage everyone. And you can see that society which was the society under the proper Kshatriya, the king, the society was much peaceful, and they were more dharmic, and the more God-centered society we could see. That was the situation. Now we don't have a proper leader. There are no proper intelligent class of people to guide the leaders. And what is left in the society? It's chaos. Democracy. Prabhupada called it democracy. So government by the people, for the people. Fools are elected by the fools. That's all. That's what is happening. Because they do not know whom to elect. The leaders are also not proper. There are thieves and rascals and scoundrels. Everyone is trying to mint money. Everyone is trying to cheat others and increase their bank balance. This is what they're trying to do. So there is a problem in the modern day system. So only unless a person becomes a devotee of the Lord, there cannot be sanity in the society. And also we can see, for a devotee he has no problem. We don't identify ourselves as, we don't call, he's a Brahmana Vaishnava, he's a Shudra Vaishnava, he's a Vaishya Vaishnava. So maybe a person, he may be a sweeper in the street. But There is no, it's because anything you do for Krishna, it's all in the absolute platform, isn't it? You may sweep the floor, you may construct something with the bricks, you may engage in puja, you may cook for Krishna, you may make garlands, you may sing for Krishna. Everything is on the absolute platform. The activity as such doesn't matter. If the activity is offered to Krishna, it becomes Krishna conscious. That is an important part to understand. And also we acknowledge that it may not be possible. Well, sometimes, also in the current situation in our society, that it is very difficult to bring exactly that same system that was followed in the Vedic times, because of the time-place situation. But that is a very ideal situation. But whatever may be, but nevertheless we see even now those divisions are somehow that is there. You cannot avoid it. And so we are not in a mental platform. We don't see on a bodily level or in a mundane level seeing that, this person is like this. We actually, everybody understands, because of my previous karma, because of my previous sanskaras and vasanas, I am in a particular situation. And these are the qualities that I have, and let me engage it in Krishna's service. It's very peaceful, that's all. Not that, we just immediately compete. A devotee who has a proper understanding, he's completely peaceful, he's happy. Whatever I do for Krishna, that's what I offer it to the Lord. And Krishna says, perfect. In that way you will purify and you will come to me, Krishna says. So that will be the rest of the discussion in this chapter. Okay. Are you following what we are discussing? And also we can see, that's why Prabhupada also in many purports we can see, Prabhupada points out that the system, caste system, it's not the mundane caste system. These divisions are meant for the entire purification of the society. That's the whole thing. Wherever you go, even you go to a corporate place, you can see these 4 divisions are there. There are some managing directors who are the thinkers of the vision of the company, how the company should, what they should produce, and what should be the budget, everything. They are the ones. And then there are managers who manage the whole organization. And then there are people who are engaged in marketing, and there are factory workers. These divisions are there, it's unavoidable. But the whole Krishna conscious perspective is that we just engage all our propensities in Lord's service. Then everything becomes perfect. And also you see the society is so nice when you have pure Brahmanas who simply want to help the society to be in the right direction. And then honest Kshatriyas, they really want to see that everybody is engaged in Vishnu's service. And then in a very dharmic way, they establish the dharma. There cannot be any cheating that can go on. And then there is also trade that happens in a honest way. And then there is also good the produce, whatever that is being produced, it's not polluting. The organic foods are produced. The animals are taken care of very nicely. Cows and everything. And then to tell honestly, in Kali Yuga, what is the situation? We don't even have proper Shudras to tell that's the situation. Shudra means he's very sincere, doesn't speak lies, he just abides by the instruction. Where are those people? Where are those people? Everyone is actually cheating. That is the reality actually. In fact, there are people in the modern days, even there are lesser than mlechas. That is the situation. Where Kali Yuga is really downtrodden age. We have a very tough time to we have this, this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time period is for 10,000 years, golden age it is said. So that is the only hope. The only hope is that by chanting the holy names of Krishna, people actually can come to sanity. They come in association with devotees, honor prasadam, hear Harikatha, their life can be changed. Otherwise it's really, the more the time progresses, we are going to have further more complications in this Kali Yuga. So we have a great work to do. We have a great work to do in terms of preaching, giving this knowledge to others. So International Society for Krishna Consciousness is meant for giving this transcendental knowledge to others. That's what Srila Prabhupada said. This preaching means waging war against Maya. We have so many misconceptions, wrong understandings, bogus avatars, scientists, politicians, industrialists, many demons are out there. So we need to use the weapons of the holy name, Harikatha, and then Krishna Prasadam. Not Scud missiles and bombs. That's not, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given a very powerful process. Okay, we'll continue. Now, Srila Baladevi Vibhushan Prabhu is raising a question, but how can actions which are said to cause bondage lead to steadiness in jnana, which is the cause of liberation from bondage? Now, the same point is being raised. How can the actions lead to proper knowledge? How one will, because actions bind. So you are saying you have to engage in activities, how one can be purified? Okay. Text 45. Sve sve karman abhirata samsiddhing labate naraha swakarma nirata siddhing yata vindati tachrunu. By qualities, by following his qualities of work, every man can become perfect. Now please hear from me how this can be done. So Krishna says, samsiddhim, one can become perfect. How? Sve sve karman abhirataha, by following the nature of work that is ordained to a person. So Krishna says that yata vindati tachrunu. So by that, by engage in the prescribed work given to him, one will attain perfection. Now you hear from me, I'm going to explain to you, he says. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in that previous verse is giving a comment. The Lord then explains that this can happen by particular intelligence in the action. So according to the activity a person performs, he is purified. And the intelligence he uses in that action. Okay, what is that? We will see. Text 46. Yataf pravritir bhutanam yena sarvam idam tatam swakarmanatam abhyarchya siddhing vindati manavaha. It's a good verse to learn, although it's not for the exam, but it's a good verse required in the preaching. By worshipping of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. See what Krishna says. Yataf pravritir bhutanam. So everything that the living entities has to do, actually it is coming from whom? Yena sarvam idam tatam. Whatever that we see, whatever it is coming from the Supreme Lord. He is the cause. So he says, swakarmana tam abhyarchya. So abhyarchya means worshipping. You worship the Lord by your work. You engage in the work, but simultaneously you engage in the worship of the Lord. So by you please be situated in whatever work you are doing, but you must engage in the worship of the Lord. And then if you do like that, what is the result of that? Siddhing vindati manavaha. You will attain perfection, Krishna says. Now immediately Srila Prabhupada is pointing out the importance of the Supreme Personality of God, or how the Supreme Lord is the cause of all the causes. How everything is happening under his guidance. Without him, nothing, even a blade of grass doesn't move. So Prabhupada points out that Janmadyasya yataha, everything actually is a manifestation for the Supreme Lord. So it is being pointed out here that not that, see, there are some people, because there are some karmavadis who say that just simply you do your work. Do your duty. But simply doing duty, you are not going to make progress. What is required? You have to, what it says, Krishna says that tam abhyarchya, swakarmana tam abhyarchya. You have to worship the Lord. You have to acknowledge that the Supreme Lord is there. He is the cause of all the causes. Everything is happening under his control. He is guiding everyone. He has given the Vedas. He has given the spiritual master. He has given the devotees. So I need to abide by the instructions of the Lord. Then progress is possible. So that's why immediately Srila Prabhupada is pointing out Janmadyasya. Everything is emanating from him. You cannot ignore him. Whereas the karmis, what they think? Simply do your activity. You have to get the result. Whose philosophy is this? Karma Mimamsakas. This is what they say, no? Simply you do your work. You have to get the result. Why bringing God in the picture? You have your talent. You have your intelligence. Work. You will you will get the result. Okay, so immediately Janmadyasya yataha is pointed out. Everything is coming from Krishna. Yesterday we discussed the intelligence is coming from Krishna. The ingredients for the work is coming from the Krishna. The process, how to perform the work is coming from Krishna. Where you can ignore Krishna. It's not possible to ignore Krishna unless you are a fool. So Prabhupada further points out. So he says that the external energy, as said in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord by his two energies, his external energy and internal energy, is all pervading. Therefore, one should worship the Supreme Lord with his energies. So this is the point. No? The Lord is all pervading. Everywhere there is Lord. How you can deny the Lord is not there? Wherever you see the entire planetary system, where the Lord is not present, this is the question to be raised. So his external energy is a perverted reflection of the internal energy. The external energy is a background, but the Supreme Lord, by the expansion of his plenary portion as Paramatma, is situated everywhere. So you may say that we are covered. We are not able to see the Supreme Lord. Very nicely Kunti Maharani in her prayers she says, Maya Javanika Channam Agnya Dokshajam Abhyayam Na Lakshase Mudadrisha Nato Natya Dhroyata. You can remember the screen. There is a screen. The screen is covered. There is internal energy, there is external energy. So the Lord has covered himself with the internal energy. Now we are covered by the external energy of the Lord. We cannot see him. Okay. He is the super soul of all demigods, all human beings, all animals, everywhere. One should therefore know that as part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, one has his duty to render service unto the Supreme. Everyone should be engaged in devotional service to the Lord in full Krishna consciousness. That is recommended in this verse. So, Prabhupada makes it very clear and straight. What he says, everyone should be engaged in devotional service. So whatever may be your situation, whatever you are doing, you are a big lawyer, you are a doctor, you are an engineer, you are a street sweeper, you are a man, you are a woman, whatever may be your situation, you have to engage in devotional service. In that way, siddhing vindati manavaha, you will attain perfection. Everyone should think that he is engaged in a particular type of occupation by Rishikesha, the master of the senses, and by the result of the work in which one is engaged, the Supreme Person of God, Sri Krishna, should be worshipped. If one thinks always in this way, in full Krishna consciousness, then by the grace of the Lord, he becomes fully aware of everything. That is the perfection of life. Because even the family person, what he does, he may work somewhere, but his work is the result of the work is giving to Krishna. Even the work, he thinks that I'm doing this work, I have to maintain my family. I want all my family members to engage in Krishna's service. He's a devotee. Devotee's attitude is like this. So that's what Prabhupada is pointing out. In that way, he becomes fully Krishna conscious and he's fully aware of everything and attains perfection in life. And for such a devotee, what Krishna does, Tesham aham samudharta, the Supreme Lord himself takes charge of delivering such a devotee. That is the highest perfection of life. In whatever occupation one may be engaged, if he serves the Supreme Lord, he will achieve the highest perfection. So this is the point. Srila Baladev Vidibhushan Prabhu in his commentary says that such a person, how he engages in activity, says, may the Lord be satisfied with the act, men attain steadiness in jnana. So in that way, he thinks that, okay, even whatever activity let me do, let me try to please the Lord by that. Yesterday we heard, even a person may be working in a factory, but he is giving the results of all the work to the Supreme Lord. He's performing. He's not having any aspirations of now let me become a corporate, let me go up the corporate ladder, or let me just get into some bigger job, let me be recognized in society, let me contribute to this nation. His contribution to the nation is by helping others to come to the lotus feet of Supreme Lord. That is his understanding. He's not, he's not in competitive spirit, he's not greedy. These kind of aspirations he does not have. He's very honest, straightforward, always thinking of welfare of others. So such a person, he also thinks that this act I'm doing it by this act let the Lord be satisfied. He's not engaged in illegal activities, he's not cheating people, he's not greedy. So this is the point. Text 47. Now, Krishna is pointing, Baladev Vidibhushan is raising here a question. Because the duties of the Kshatriyas and others are composed of the lower gunas, people losing taste for those duties should perform the duties of the Brahmanas in Sattva Guna. Now the point is being made here that we heard, when a Brahmana, he is completely in Sattva Guna, predominantly in Sattva Guna. A Kshatriya is predominantly in Rajo Guna. And a Vaishya is predominantly in Rajo Guna and influenced by Tamo Guna. And then the Shudra is completely influenced by Tamo Guna. Now, here after Arjuna knows about it, so Arjuna is thinking, maybe since being a Kshatriya, I am in a lower guna, shall I, take up the role of a Brahmana? Like that he's having a doubt. No, Krishna is clarifying that. So that means what? Let's come back to the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. What Arjuna is trying to clarify. He's thinking that maybe I should not fight. Why I should fight? He's thinking like that. So it's being clarified. Already this verse is discussed, no? The previous, in the, which chapter? Third chapter or the fourth chapter? Krishna speaks about that. So here Krishna is answering. Shreyan swadharmo viguna paradharmat swanushthitat svabhavaniyatam karma kurvan napnoti kilbisham. So he says, Shreyan swadharmo. Okay, we'll read the translation. It is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions. So here, Krishna is pointing out, Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha. Shreyan, what is best is swadharma. You engage in your swadharma, although there may be some deficiencies in that. Vigunaha. Although you may not do it properly, better you fix that. Paradharmat swanushthitat. So that Shreyan is you do your swadharma than that paradharma, others dharma. Swanushthitat. Although you may think that you may do it perfectly, better you stick to yours. Swabhava niyatam karma. So, because by just sticking to your swabhava, although there may be deficiencies, you will not incur sinful reactions, Krishna says. Because that is what is being ordained to you, you stick to that. So here Prabhupada in the purport is pointing out. A man who is by nature attracted to the kind of work done by Shudras should not artificially claim to be a Brahmana, although he may have been born into a Brahmana family. Prabhupada immediately points out that there are some people who they might have been born in a Brahmana family, and currently if you see what they are doing, they may be doing activities even less than Shudra. But they say that I am a Brahmana. They will say like that. But you cannot claim yourself like that, Brahmana, sir. What are your activities? You are eating cup noodles. You are going to the bar. And then what are you doing? And you are drinking coffee, tea, and then engaged in all kinds of strange activities. Still you want to claim yourself to be a Brahmana? There are sometimes some people, who claim themselves to be Brahmana. Sometimes some people are looking for Brahmana cooks for some functions and festivals. And then, sometimes these people, they just wear the thread only on that particular day. And they don't follow anything. And then they get some profession. They just go and then cook like that. There are some people who are like that. So here, that is very abominable, should not be done. So here Krishna is pointing out, as already discussed in previous verses, the duties of a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra are prescribed according to their particular modes of nature. One should not imitate another's duty. So a man who is by nature attracted to the kind of work done by Shudra should not artificially claim to be Brahmana, although he may have been born into a Brahmana family. So what is the point being discussed here? Brahmana is not by birth, Brahmana is by the qualities and activities. Same things holds with other varnas as well. Prabhupada further he points out, in this way one should work according to his own nature. No work is abominable if performed in the service of the Supreme Lord. Now this is another thing. Some people are thinking that, he's sweeping the floor. He's a simple servant. It is not an abominable act. Remember what in one of the purports in the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says that it is best to be an honest sweeper than a charlatan. What he uses? Charlatan meditator, he says, calling oneself to be some big Brahmana or sadhu or this and that. Better to be honest sweeper. And there is nothing wrong with that. What is that? Because you be a sweeper and be a devotee of Krishna. Glorious. Excellent. What is this? So a devotee, that's why a devotee is ready to do anything for Krishna. He doesn't think, sometimes, people are so much interested to go on top of the stage. Sometimes it happens when we're in the neophyte stage, we do not understand. We like to be on top of the stage, like to speak something or like to be part of some, some program there. But then, you don't like to, when you're called to do some cleaning on that stage, I thought you call someone. Why are you calling me? You are such a fool, you don't understand, The Lord is going to come there. The Lord's deities are going to come there on top of it. What is that? You're ready to come and then make a big show there, wearing garland and showing yourself some great person. Nothing you have understood. You are such a fool, actually. So the thing is that you should be very happy to come and then do service. So this we are bringing the all our crazy ideas from before coming to Krishna consciousness. All those ideas we are bringing in here into our after having coming to Krishna consciousness also. So that is I don't know whether I gave this example. One time there was one sannyasi, he was going for different programs in one city, and there was one devotee who was always driving car for him. Okay, so he was driving car and then he was helping that Maharaj. So Maharaj was about to begin a class. So he called, where is my charioteer? He was calling, where is my driver? And then this devotee was completely upset. Said, how can I be called as a driver? How can Maharaj call me driver? And later Maharaj, in the class, he said, I'm sorry, it's not that, you have been put down that you are a driver, you are something low class like that. That was the idea. It's like kind of out of affection he is calling. But on the contrary, we can see Krishna is so happy to remain as the charioteer. He is very happy to be called as a Sarathi. So when we are in the neophyte stage, we don't understand. So I'm just giving these examples to drive the point that doesn't matter what is our varna, what we are you engaged in the Lord's service? This is the point. We should not be like a political group. That what the politicians are doing. Are the politicians so concerned regarding who is a Brahmana, who is a Kshatriya, who is a Vaishya, who is a Shudra? He's at the end of the day, he's more interested how I can increase my bank balance. So wherever there is an opportunity, he uses that to exploit the people. So he's saying, Manu Samhita is actually promoting caste system. It is actually putting the women down. Everything for vested interest. Cheaters. They are complete cheaters. They never want to complete quality of these are the qualities of the demons. Demons want to exploit every situation. That's what they are. Okay. Let's come back to the purport. Here, Prabhupada gives an example. For a Kshatriya or an administrator, there are so many abominable things. A Kshatriya has to be violent to kill his enemies. And sometimes a Kshatriya has to tell lies for the sake of diplomacy. Prabhupada gives an example how in every varna there are difficulties or there are apparent problems in that particular varna. Or even a Brahmana. Sometimes a Brahmana has to engage in a sacrifice. He has to engage in animal sacrifice. That is there. So that is one of the deficiency in that particular varna. And then in the varna of Kshatriya, so here Prabhupada pointed out that he has to kill the enemies. He has to sometimes be diplomatic. And then here Prabhupada gives another example. Such violence and duplicity accompany political affairs. But a Kshatriya is not supposed to give up his occupational duty and try to perform the duties of a Brahmana. Already this is discussed, no? Now Arjuna was having this idea. Let me become a sannyasi. Let me just give up this war. Let me just do Brahmanical activity. I will go and then do Bhavati Bhikshande. I will take Bhiksha. I'll just go to the forest and be secluded. Enough of this. I don't want to be part of this, killing my relatives. Then remember, I think Baladev Vidibhushan or Vishwasakha in one of the commentaries says, you Arjuna, you will never be able to do that. You may think of doing that. You will be going and then you'll be taking Bhiksha, and then you will be seeing that among the others who are poor men or something, they may be cheating. There will be some cheating that is going on, and then you cannot restrain your propensity, and then you will go and then beat them or you will fight with them and say that, hey, this is adharma, you cannot do that. And then you will establish dharma there. So better Arjuna, you stick to your dharma and then you take up the bow and arrow and then fight. That is beneficial for you. In that way, that's the best thing to be done. So that's the point. One should act to satisfy the Supreme Lord. For example, Arjuna was a Kshatriya. He was hesitating to fight the other party. But if such fighting is performed for the sake of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there need be no fear of degradation. In the business field also, sometimes a merchant has to tell so many lies to make a profit. If he does not do so, there can be no profit. Sometimes the merchant says, oh my dear customer, for you I am making no profit. But one should know that without profit, the merchant cannot exist. Many times we see that, sir, just this price is only for you, sir. For I got it for such a low price, but anyway, for you I will give for this price. Because we know that he has to do that, otherwise he cannot run the business. That's okay. The problem happens when it is too much, He got it for 100 rupees and he's trying to sell for 10,000 rupees. And that is the Kali Yuga merchants. So too much greed. That's not good. Therefore, it should be taken as a simple lie if a merchant says that he is not making a profit, but the merchant should not think that because he is engaged in an occupation in which the telling of lies is compulsory, he should give up his profession and pursue the profession of a Brahmana. This is not recommended. Whether one is a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or a Shudra doesn't matter if he serves by his work the Supreme Personality of God. This is the most important point we should understand. Whatever you are, sir, serve the Lord, you will become perfect. Don't be too much mental about it. Even Brahmanas who perform different types of sacrifice sometimes must kill animals because so everything Prabhupada covered in this purport. All the four varnas, what are all the problems they may have? For the Shudras also he said no. He may have to work under some other yajaman, some other person who may be a horrible fellow. He may be a cheater or doing nonsense. But anyway, whatever work is given to him, he has to do it and then he has to go. It doesn't matter. So that's what. So why Prabhupada is explaining all this? Why Krishna is speaking about this? So you may think, wow, I don't want to be in this position. Let me change to other position. So other position also there are difficulties. So what is this? The other side of the river or the land is greener. What is it saying? That's their saying Tamil. I'm trying to translate it in English. So you may think that this side maybe may not be green. Maybe the other side is green. You may think going there, and then you may say that the other side is also not green. So better you stick to wherever you are. But the thing is, whether you are in this side or that side, you will please engage in Krishna service. This you should not miss. This is the whole point. Every man should work for the purpose of Yajna or for Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of God. Anything done for personal sense gratification is a cause of bondage. The conclusion is that everyone should be engaged according to the particular mode of nature he has acquired, and he should decide to work only to serve the supreme cause of the Supreme Lord. So that's the whole point. Whatever you are situated in, you engage in the Supreme Lord and you make your life perfect. Okay, let's continue. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is pointing out, you should not think that only you have problems in executing your duties. There are problems in others' duty also. So that is already touched. But again, Krishna is explaining more in this. Sahajam karma kaunteya sadhosham api natyajet sarvarambha hi doshena dhumenagnir iva vrataha. Every endeavor is covered by some fault, just as fire is covered by smoke. Therefore, one should not give up the work born of his nature, O son of Kunti, even if such work is full of fault. So here, Srila Prabhupada in the purport is pointing out So already we discussed that point. I'll just read it again. If one is a Brahmana, he has to perform sacrifices in which animal killing is necessary. Similarly, a Kshatriya, however pious he may be, has to fight the enemies. He cannot avoid it. Killing cannot be avoided. Similarly, a merchant, however pious he may be, must always hide his profit to stay in business. Or he may sometimes have to do business on the black market. These things are necessary. One cannot avoid them. Similarly, even though a man is a Shudra having a bad master, he has to carry out the order of the master, even though it should not be done. Despite these flaws, one should continue to carry out his prescribed duties, for they are born out of his own nature. A very nice example is given here in Srila Prabhupada is pointing out. Although fire is pure, still there is smoke. Yet smoke does not make the fire impure. Even though there is smoke in the fire, fire is still considered to be the purest of all elements. So it's a nice point, no? So when there is fire, there is some smoke. No, you just move aside the smoke and then you are benefited. In the cold season, what happens? That because of the fire, will you say that, oh, there is some smoke, I don't want the fire? No, that is you get the heat and light from that. It is very beneficial. Similarly, whatever varna one who is in, there may be some flaws. Ignore those flaws. Just go ahead with the benefit that you derive from the main activity of yours being what? Engaged in the Lord's service. So, again the Bhagavatam is pointing out, saying, Atap pumbir dvijasreshta varnashrama vibhagashaha swanustitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. So one can attain perfection by pleasing the Lord. Whatever may be your situation, whatever may be your varna, Atap pumbir dvijasreshta varnashrama vibhagashaha swanustitasya dharmasya. So one has to engage in the dharmic activities based on your occupational duties, but you should try to please the Lord by that. If you don't please that, then it is just Shamayeva hi kevalam. And then also there is another verse which explains Varnashrama charavata, Varnashrama acharavata, Purushena parapuman. And then what it says? Vishnur aradhyate panta nanyat tosha karanat. That's the whole point. So Vishnur aradhyate panta. So whatever may be your situation in the Varna and Ashrama, you engage in the service of Vishnu. You worship Vishnu. By that, you will attain perfection. Now Prabhupada, in the rest of the purport, is again focusing on this point. He says that how by one can get benefited by the fire, although there may be smoke. Similarly, one should not give up his natural occupation because there are some disturbing elements. Rather, one should be determined to serve the Supreme Lord by his occupational duty in Krishna consciousness. That is the perfectional point. When a particular type of occupation is performed for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, all the defects in that particular occupation are purified. When the results of work are purified, when connected with devotional service, one becomes perfect in seeing the self within, and that is the self-realization. So that is the whole point. So gradually by this work, one engages in the work and gets purified and purified and purified, then one comes to the perfection of attaining the... So this is the whole thing, no? Remember also at the beginning of the 3rd chapter, 4th chapter we were discussing. By engaging in activity, one will be purified, one will come to the proper point of knowledge. But here we are also, another point to be understood, what we are doing, we are engaging directly in devotional service. But then even if you come through the other process of the indirect process, by engaging in the activity of his, according to his Varna and Ashrama, when one engages in activity, by that activity, that activity leads to Jnana, he becomes purified. Within that activity, there is also knowledge that we heard before, no? So from there, one attains to, from karma, one goes to the situation of Jnana. Okay. Now, let us have one quick discussion before I go to the next verse. Now, if you see, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a verse which speaks that Narada Muni, he points out. What he says? He says that, how does that verse begin? It's a very famous verse. Narada Muni says that even if you do not, even if you fail to perform your dharmic activity, you are situated in particular dharma, you don't take up your dharma, rather, bhajan apakvo tapate tato yadi. How does it begin? Yatrakva vabhadram abud amushyakim. What is the beginning of this verse? Come on, help me. Tyaktva swadharmam charanam bhujam hare. Bhajan apakva tapate tato yadi. Tyaktva swadharmam. Even if you give up your dharma, no problem. Swadharma. Because you are engaged in the Lord's service, there is no loss, there is no sinful reaction, nothing. Wherever you have left, from there you will continue. Rather than engaging in your swadharma, even though you may execute all your swadharma perfectly, there is so it appears like a contradiction, isn't it? There Narada Muni is pointing out that give up all your swadharma, you just engage in Hari's service. Here it is said that don't give up your swadharma, whatever may be your swadharma, you just stick to your dharma. If you be rather than doing someone else's dharma, Krishna is speaking something here, Bhagavatam is saying something there. Is it a contradiction? How it's not a contradiction, but appears like a contradiction, isn't it? Real Swadharma is worshipping the Supreme Lord. Then why Krishna is speaking here like that? It's a good point, yes. Our real Swadharma is actually engaging the Lord's service, but there is one point, one important thing we have to see here. Now, we are only in the verse number, what is the verse number we are in? 48, okay? So, Krishna is going to speak the another important verse. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam raja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayisyami masuchaha. So, Krishna is showing one level here, that yes, better in this level you do like this. But then, Krishna is saying that you just give up all the dharmas. Simply take shelter of me. I will relieve you from all sinful reactions. You may think that, oh, if I give up this swadharma, then I may get a sinful reaction. But if you sincerely engage in the Lord's service, then nothing for us to worry. In fact, in one of the lectures, one person asked this question to Prabhupada. Prabhupada immediately quotes Sarva Dharman Parityajya. He quotes it. So, why I'm just trying to give this point is that we can see there is no contradiction in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. It is all speaking the same thing. Are you following? So that's the point. I'm not going to get into the details of it. When we come to Sarvadharman Parityajya, we will discuss that. So the point is, otherwise, generally, we don't give up the dharma. You engage in that particular dharma, but devotional service on the supreme platform. Okay, let's continue. Text 49. Asakta buddhi sarvatra jitatma vikata spruha naishkarmya siddhing paramam sanyasena digacchati. One who is self-controlled and unattached and who disregards all material enjoyments can obtain by practice of renunciation the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction. Now Krishna says, by asakta buddhi sarvatra. So what happens by this engagement in one's swadharma and engaging in these activities, one becomes what? One becomes purified, more and more purified. And when becomes purified, then what happens? One comes to the highest level of detachment from this material world. So he becomes self-controlled. Asakta buddhi sarvatra jitatma. Jitatma means one who has controlled the mind and senses. Vigata spriha. There is no more material desires. Then he becomes free from all the action and the reaction. So naishkarmyam siddhing paramam. He attains the perfection of his life. That is he has become the perfect sannyasi because of the renunciation. So these are all the result of being engaged in what? By abhyarchya. Swakarma abhyarchya. By being engaged in a particular activity, by engaged in performing your dharmic activity or worshipping the Lord like that, gradually one is purified and comes to the higher level. That is what is being pointed out in this verse. So Prabhupada says that real renunciation means that one should always think himself part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and therefore think that he has no right to enjoy the results of his work. So this is the point. He understands that I am not the result he is giving to Krishna. He also has understanding that he is not the doer. So that understanding also he gets. In that way, he is completely satisfied and he is peaceful. So who is that person? Prabhupada says that a person who is in Krishna consciousness automatically attains this perfection without even accepting the so-called order of renunciation. He might not have even externally taken a danda or sannyasa dress, but he is acting in this mood. So he is greater than, he is fully satisfied. He is greater than a sannyasi, he says. So either he is being called as the Yoga Ruda stage. Remember in the 6th chapter we read Yoga Ruruksha and Yoga Ruda. The Yoga Ruruksha, the work is the means. And in the Yoga Ruda, he completely gives up the work. Prabhuji, we forgot that is 6th chapter. Now we are in the 18th chapter. No, the same point is being mentioned here. So he may begin to do the work there. And then gradually he may be engaged in activity. Then after he attains, he is purified of all his bad qualities and attains. He comes to the level of the Paramatma realization. Remember, Yoga Ruda attains is the Yoga Ruda stage. So now we can see he is now gradually coming to the platform of Brahman. He's purified of all material desires. That's what is discussed so far. Text 50. Now, how this knowledge leads to perfection, he says. So now from working, he has come to the perfect knowledge, and then in that perfect knowledge, he is able to see everything as part and parcel of Krishna. And then he is detached. And also, by all this, he is not, he is able to see everything in relation to Krishna. Now that particular knowledge, how it leads to bhakti is being discussed from verses 50 to 55. Siddhing prapto yatha brahma tatapnoti nibodhame samasenaiva kaunteya nishta jnanasya yapara. O son of Kunti, learn from me how one who has achieved this perfection can attain the supreme perfectional stage, Brahman, the stage of highest knowledge. By acting in this way, I shall now summarize. So Krishna in this verse, he says that how one can attain perfection by acting in this, by working like this, one will attain perfection. So that is the main point here. So Prabhupada points out that one attains a supreme stage of Brahman simply by renouncing the result of his work for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. That is the process of self-realization. So he is engaged in work, gives the results of the work to the Lord, and he is detached, and in that way, by simply trying to satisfy the Lord, he attains the perfection that is being pointed out. Now in this verse, 51 to 53, Krishna is pointing out some symptoms and also the qualities of that person who has attained the stage of Brahman. Text 51 to 53. Buddhya vishuddhaya yukto dhrityatmanam niyamya shabdadin vishayang styaktva ragadveshau vyudasya cha vivikta sevi lagvashi yatavakkaya manasah dhyana yoga paro nityang vairagyang samupashritah ahankarang balang dharpam kamam krodang parigraham vimuchya nirmamah shanto brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Being purified by his intelligence and controlling the mind with determination, giving up the objects of sense gratification, all those qualities that we have seen before, for a person who has attained the perfect stage, all those qualities Krishna is repeating here. Being freed from attachment and hatred, one who lives in a secluded place, vivikta desha kalatvam, you have heard that, no? Who eats little, mita bhuk, who eats little, who controls his body, mind and power of speech, who is always in trance and who is detached, free from false ego, false strength, false pride, lust, anger and acceptance of material things, free from false proprietorship and peaceful. Such a person is suddenly elevated to the position of self-realization. So all those qualities we see, when one person is thoroughly purified, you can see he will be exhibiting all the qualities that we just listed. So this is a result of purified intelligence. So in that state, he is very steady, he is very still, he could concentrate, he is completely focused. And he is very peaceful. And also one other thing, you see, there is an amazing thing. See, when one becomes so renounced, he becomes so detached, there can be a person can be affected by one quality. He can become proud of the detachment also. So let's say, when we can immediately see we are conditioned. Let's say we can chant shlokas very nicely. Or we can sing very nicely, we can play mridanga nicely, or we can do something for Krishna very nicely. Immediately what is accompanying that? You are so proud of it. So when you are detached, renounced, then also you can become proud. I'm such a great renunciant. Even an iota of pride that is there, then that's not very good. We can see in the life of Sudama, in one of the commentaries, I think, Vishnu Thakur is pointing out that Krishna gave him that big opulence, he says that some place he says, I'm not able to recollect exactly where it is, in one of the 10 canto commentaries only. So he says that Sudama was slightly, very, very slightly, he thought that, he is very, very detached Brahmana. So even that also Krishna completely purified. So I'm just giving an example here that is also very subtle. These are very subtle. So we have to even give up that pride also. Everything belongs to Krishna. Everything happening by Krishna's mercy. So all those qualities are being discussed here. So Prabhupada points out that when one is completely free from false ego, he becomes not attached to all material things. And that is the stage of self-realization of Brahman. That stage is called the Brahma Bhuta stage. When one is free from the material conception of life, he becomes peaceful and cannot be agitated. So immediately, Prabhupada points out that Apuryamanam machala pratishtam samudryamapa pravishanti yadvad tadvad kamayam pravishanti sarve sashantim apnoti na kama kami. So when a person is completely peaceful, he is not agitated by various desires that comes in and or in any situation, he is very peaceful. Okay, now comes the very important verse. All have to memorize this verse. We should know this verse. I'm sure it will be in the list of verses for memorization. This verse speaks of the attainment of realizing Atma. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samah sarveshu bhuteshu madbhakting labate param. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. So Krishna here points out that who is that person who is in that Brahma Bhuta stage? He is prasanna Atma. He is always very joyful. And he never laments or never he is showing some anxieties for acquiring something. There is no kankshati or there is no shochati. Na shochati, na kankshati. Samas sarveshu bhuteshu. He can see everyone with an equal vision. That's a very big thing. He can, because he has come to that stage. The Lord has that equal vision, right? Similarly, by having become purified, he can also see with that. And mad bhakting labate param. So it says that in that stage, he attains pure devotional service to me. That is a perfect platform from which one enters the pure devotion. Now immediately Prabhupada points out to the purport, he contrasting the impersonalist and the personalist. He says the impersonalist achieving the Brahmabhuta stage is becoming one with the absolute. That is the last word. But whereas for the devotee, he begins his devotional service. Pure devotee, one has to still go further, become engaged in pure devotional service. From there, that platform, devotional service begins. He goes further. When he has attained that professional stage, he engages more in devotional service. And Prabhupada also points out in the purport that one is, in the pure devotional service, Brahmabhuta stage is inclusive. That means what? When one has got the Bhagavan realization, Brahman realization is included. And one important statement is here, please watch out that. Without being one with the Supreme, the Absolute One cannot render service unto Him. In the Absolute conception, there is no difference between the served and the servitor. Yet the distinction is there in a higher spiritual sense. So what is this being spoken here? There is no distinction between the served and the servitor. How to understand this? That means what? Ekatvam anupashyataha. So the Lord is spiritual. The Jiva is also spiritual. Now he has recognized that he is also spiritual. He has got nothing to do with material. Then another point is that the Lord is pure, the Jiva also has become pure. So only in that pure platform one can engage in the service of the Lord. One can please the Lord. The spiritual senses, isn't it? So that's why Arjuna is glorifying Krishna as Param Brahma Param Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. You want to approach the Lord, then you also become Pavitra. So in that sense, we are equal with the Lord. Not that now we have become completely equal with the Lord. We can never become equal with the Lord. That is the constitutional position of the Jiva is always to render service to Him. In quality, in quantity, there is difference. But in quality, there are similarities with the Lord. This is the understanding. Is it clear? Able to follow? Prabhupada further points out that because he is so satisfied in the service of the Lord, he is not having any, na shochati, na kankshati. And he is very happy, he is very blissfully engaged in the service of the Lord. Here, Prabhupada is pointing out, because a pure devotee has no thought other than Krishna, he is naturally always joyful. He does not lament for any material loss or aspiring for gain, because he is full in the service of the Lord. He has no desire for material enjoyment, because he knows that every living entity is a fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. So that is the whole point, by understanding himself to be the servant of the Lord, he is completely satisfied. Jeev Krishna Ras, E Vishwas, all what is there for him to worry? He is so happy to be situated in his constitutional position to serve the Lord in various ways. Now we will read the last section of this purport, and you try to one other quality, an equal vision. Because of that, he could see everyone as part and parcel of Krishna, and also he could see that the Paramatma is residing in everyone's heart. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini. Sunichaiva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshana. He could have that Samadarshana vision because of being in the Brahmabhuta platform. And he wants to do welfare for everyone. He's understanding that somebody's conditioned in certain body. And he wants to help every jiva. Now please see the purport of how Prabhupada is taking it further. How he is in a very joyful state. He's having equal vision. He's free from Kankshati and Shochati. Now we will see this rest of the purport. In that stage of existence, the idea of becoming one with the Supreme Brahman and annihilating one's individuality becomes hellish. The idea of attaining the heavenly kingdom becomes phantasmagoria. And the senses are like serpents whose poison teeth are broken. And what else he says? As there is no fear of a serpent with broken teeth, there is no fear from the senses when they are automatically controlled. The world is miserable for the materially infected person, but for a devotee, the entire world is as good as Vaikuntha or the spiritual sky. The highest personality in this material universe is no more significant than an ant for a devotee. Such a stage can be achieved by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, who preached pure devotional service in this age. So, Stavpriya Prabhu, you please don't speak. But others, can you identify what Prabhupada is giving in this purport? What is being pointed out here? He concludes just with one passage. That's why he just concludes the purport. What Prabhupada is pointing out here? You just think about it. Prabhupada is pointing out, just he's writing the translation of one verse. Huh? Yeah, Prabodhananda Saraswati is quoting, this very famous verse, Kaivalyam Narakayate. Tridasha Purakasha Pushpayate. That's exactly translation is here. And then Durdhantendriya Kala Sarpa Patali Protkala Dhamstrayate. That's what is being. The senses are like serpents whose poison teeth are broken. So for a devotee it is possible. He is not agitated in the presence of any situation. Because he has complete control of the senses and mind. And then he says, Vishwam Purna Sukayate. This material world also appears to be a very happy place for him. No, he doesn't lament because he has come to that perfectional platform. He is not interested in Indra Padavi, he is not interested in the position of Indra. So he says, Vidhi Mahendra Adishcha Kitayate. He is not interested. And then, how he is looking at that position of Indra, even, very insignificant. He is not like, he says that, he is looking at it insignificant that of an ant, like that. So, how he has come to that stage? This is the connection of our parampara. He has come to that stage because by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, one can come to that stage. Otherwise, it is not possible. So, very nice verse that is being quoted. Okay, I would like to just one interesting point in the commentary of the Acharyas, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is pointing out. He says, you see, many times we hear, in the karma, either karma yoga or jnana yoga or any yoga, there is always a tinge of bhakti. Without the bhakti, there you cannot attain perfection in any of these progressive stages. So here in the Vishnu Chakravarti in his commentary is pointing out, though bhakti was previously present in a small proportion during practices such as jnana and vairagya, just in order to bring about liberation, bhakti was not clearly visible, just like the antaryami in all beings. Therefore, the word labate, meaning discovers, is the suitable word rather than produces. So it is not that from the jnana it produces bhakti. No, already bhakti is there. Then now it becomes more visible. So he says, as therefore the word labate means discovers is a suitable word rather than produces, since it was already present within the person. Though a golden jewel remains hidden when mixed among grains of yellow dal. When the grains are destroyed, separated from them, the indestructible golden jewel becomes kevala, attains its pure state. It's a nice point, no? So you see in the, there are gems, or you can say he says jewel. So there are so many yellow moong dal is there. You are not able to exactly see that particular jewel that is placed there. And when you just sort out all this moong dal, this jewel becomes prominent. So he says that bhakti is already there, hidden. And that because of bhakti only there was some progress that is being happening in other stages as well. But now in this stage, bhakti becomes predominant. That is what is being discussed. Are you able to follow? Is it clear? Okay. Okay, now we will go to the next verse. Now, after having attained this bhakti, what has happened? What is the stage? This is the question. What happens to that person after having attained bhakti? Now he merges. Is it he's going to merge with Brahman? That Krishna very clearly addresses. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato jnatva vishate tad anantaram. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Very, very important verse. We need to memorize this. Here is the key verse. This verse very clearly establishes the superiority of devotional service. Krishna here very clearly says, not that by karma mam abhijanati, jnana mam abhijanati, bhaktya mam abhijanati, Krishna says, not by any other process. One can know the Supreme Lord by engaging in pure devotional service. Yavan yashtasmi tattvataha. One can know me as I am. Tattvataha means in truth. And Prabhupada also, you can see in the translation, very nicely he is putting, we already discussed this in the previous chapters also. See how he's saying? He's saying that in full consciousness of me, tato mam tattvato jnatva. In full consciousness of me. In certain purpose, in certain translation, Prabhupada writes this word. In full consciousness of me. So he says, by such devotion, by engaging in Tivra Bhakti, Pure devotion. What happens? Vishate tad anantaram. He enters. He enters into what? That will be the discussion in this purport. He enters into the kingdom of God. Not that he merges with the Lord. Okay. Now, Prabhupada at the beginning of the purport, he is explaining a very important principle which he has been again and again repeated throughout the purports of the Bhagavad Gita. What is the important principle? One can understand the Supreme Lord only by devotion, only with a devotional attitude, only by becoming a devotee of the Lord, theoretically accepting Krishna to be the Supreme Lord and following the principles that Krishna has laid down in giving the Bhagavad Gita. He cannot understand. See what Prabhupada says. No one can understand God simply by erudite scholarship or mental speculation. Only one who is actually engaged in Krishna consciousness and devotional service can understand what Krishna is. Not by your M.Tech, B.Tech, MSc, MPhil, whatever other big technologies. You cannot understand Krishna. You may be a big doctorate, you may be a big person in society. So Prabhupada makes a mockery in just one line. He says, university degrees are not helpful. Many of our devotees, so-called devotees, also have this concept. Let him just get one degree. Let him get one degree. Let him become a PSc, MSc. In the modern age, the more a person studies, he becomes more of a fool. All those persons who have gone through some big education, what is happening is they come out as an ass, as Bhakti Thakur says. What they say? There is no God. I have studied so much. Many times we can see people who have gone to Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Stanford University, and so many universities in England and other places. And what they have after studies, I have come up. This is with my rational thinking. I feel that it's everything we can work out ourselves. Man has developed he has got such an intelligence. He can work out everything and find solution for all the problems. So today, this is 2022. Only there has been a mess and there have been so many problems. He could never find solution for the problems of the modern age. And whatever solutions he is trying to come up with, it is only creating further problems. That's the reality. So Prabhupada is setting the background. He's very clearly is making the point that one has to become Krishna conscious. So he says one who is fully conversant with the Krishna science becomes eligible to enter into the spiritual kingdom, the abode of Krishna. Not with your university degree. It is not possible. So now Prabhupada is refuting the misconceptions of the Mayavada. He's defeating in his, because Mayavada, they completely twist this particular shloka. Now he says, Prabhupada is pointing out that becoming Brahman, he's also speaking in line with the previous verse. Brahma bhuyaya kalpate. It is said, no? That becoming Brahman means it's not that we lose our identity. It's being several times discussed. Devotional service is there, and as long as devotional service exists, there must be God, the devotee, and the process of devotional service. So we already discussed this. Bhagavan, Bhakta, and one more thing. Bhakti. For those who have that, immediately they are saying quickly. Okay. So Bhagavan, Bhakta, and Bhakti. So these are the three things Prabhupada is speaking about. Such knowledge is never vanquished even after liberation. Liberation involves getting free from the concept of material life. In spiritual life, the same distinction is there. The same individuality is there, but in pure Krishna consciousness. Now, Prabhupada addresses the important word which the Mayavadis misuse. One should not mistakenly think that the word Vishate enters into me supports the monist theory that one becomes homogeneous with the impersonal Brahman. Yes, you see here, we merge with the Brahman. This is what they say. But immediately it's clarified. Vishate means that one can enter into the abode of the Supreme Lord in one's individuality to engage in his association and render service unto him. Very important. You should know this. For instance, Prabhupada gives a simple example where Sripad Ramanujacharya quotes this. For instance, a green bird enters a green tree not to become one with the tree, but to enjoy the fruits of the tree. Not that, when you see, where is that green bird? No? Oh, it has become one with the tree. No, it is there, happily eating that fruit. You are not able to see it. No, just watch, please look into it carefully. You will see. It is not merged. Impersonalists generally give the example of a river flowing into the ocean and merging. And then another example is all the rivers, they merge into the sea. But then, see the beautiful explanation. You can when we are going to study the nectar of devotion, you see Rupa Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami, everybody is just blasting this misconception of the Mayavadis. How, the individuality exists. They point out that. Surface acquaintance, so he says that this may be a source of happiness for the impersonalists. When they say this, they are very happy. You see, this is the point. There's a merging that happens. But the personalist keeps his personal individuality like an aquatic in the ocean. We find so many living entities within the ocean. If we go deep, surface acquaintance with the ocean is not sufficient. One must have complete knowledge of the aquatics living in the ocean depths. So you can see even there may be a river which was swimming with the river, and when it comes from the river to the ocean, it goes deep into the ocean also, and it is swimming. It is happy. It's not that it has lost its identity. So that's the example that is given by the Vaishnavacharyas, and it makes complete sense. And also another thing, also we can see on the atomic level there is always individual particles. It is not when it becomes totally merged. The individual atomic level also it is individuality is retained. That's another aspect also. Now another point Prabhupada is addressing in this purport, he's pointing out that after attain the Brahmabhuta platform, not that he has completely become static. He becomes more dynamic. He is completely in bliss, engaged in lot of service to the Lord. So bhakti leads to more bhakti. Chanting leads to more chanting. This is the point. When one hears about the Supreme Lord, automatically the Brahmabhuta stage develops and material contamination, greediness and lust for sense enjoyment disappears. As lust and desires disappear from the heart of a devotee, he becomes more attached to the service of the Lord. And by such attachment, he becomes free from material contamination. In that state of life, he can understand the Supreme Lord. This is the statement of the Srimad Bhagavatam also. So here Prabhupada is giving a reference from the Vedanta Sutra that after the liberation, the devotion continues. Aprayanat tatrapi hi drishtam. This means that after liberation, the process of devotional service continues. Therefore, Prabhupada says the constitutional position is already explained. Every living entity is a part and parcel, fragmental portion of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, his constitutional position is to serve. After liberation, this service is never stopped. Actual liberation is getting free from the misconceptions of life. So now this is the beauty of this devotional service. Krishna is so merciful that you can, he has explained so many things, but he says that simply you put a flower for me with devotion. You just offer one fruit for me. You just even give me water with love. I accept it. That's all. All he requires from our side is with love rendering service to him. And this is his compassion. This is his beauty. See, when you see about the Supreme Lord, how great he is, when we see Krishna is in his abode, in his eternal abode of Goloka, then Krishna expands himself into Balaram. Balaram expands himself into the four Chaturvyuhas. And then from the Chaturvyuha there is expansion of the Adi Chaturvyuha, there is expansion of Narayana. And from Narayana there is the Dvitiya Chaturvyuha. Then all the expansions happen. There is Mahavishnu, there is Shirodaka Sai Vishnu, there is Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu. Now, when we see when Brahma is coming out of the navel and Brahma is meditating, the Lord is so huge. He is so powerful. But then, how to even approach him? But the Lord becomes so merciful. He says that you simply engage in my devotional service. Then you can speak to me. You can see me face to face. You can engage in my service. And he allows us to engage in it. This is his mercy. So bhakti is the process, is the powerful process. Simply we have to develop love for Krishna. That's what Prabhupada says. All the teachings are meant to develop pure love for the Lord. So this is the power of the pure devotional service. Now Krishna is further going to discuss about engagement in his pure unalloyed service. Okay, I'll just read one small quote from the commentary. Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan is pointing out, for those who have destroyed ignorance through bhakti, the taste for bhakti increases. Just as for those who take sugar candy and destroy jaundice, sugar candy becomes sweet. This is the conclusion of those who know the most secret knowledge. In this way, the method of practice sadhana and attainment sadhya has been stated for the devotees. So this is the whole point. So by the process of pure devotional service, one can attain perfection and continue to engage in the devotional service. So whether he is here or he is in the abode of the Lord, he continues in devotional service. Thank you very much. We will stop here. If you have any questions or comments, so please post it in the WhatsApp group. And I have sent the essays. Mostly you may be receiving it in another half an hour or so. You'll be receiving the essays for the Bhagavad Gita as it is. You have 2 essays to write, and we have given you 6 titles. You can choose any 2 from that. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai. Hare Krishna. Can you close it?